I have represented Brittany Zamora for almost 16 months, and I can tell you that she is not a monster. Brittany is not a predator, and this was not between a young child and Brittany. This was a teenager.
Welcome to the Dark Underbelly. The case of Brittany Zamora has everything that you, as a viewer, need to know about female predators and this type of sexual abuse and assault. This was a very attractive teacher. In 2018, she was accused of sexually abusing a 13-year-old student of hers in her classroom. Some of the sexual abuse occurred in the classroom, during school, in front of other students. And in one case, she had an 11-year-old perform a lookout and witness the sexual abuse of the 13-year-old so that she could continue sexually abusing this child in her classroom while this kid was serving and watching them and watching as a lookout to warn them of anyone coming. The case of Brittany Zamora basically has so many different angles. We've got a administration that protects and shields her from consequences. We've got a husband who is totally dependent on his wife that he considers, the best thing in his life, and he ain't going to lose her, so he's going to go all out to try to defend her. What we don't have in this case is parents of the victim who are complicit with the abuse and applauding the abuse. No, for once, we see a dad with a pair of balls, a dad that confronted Brittany Zamora head on and treated her like the predator that she was. Amazing to see a father step up and be a father to protect their children.
I don't care what you want to. What type of perverted person are you? I want to know right now. You're a child molester. Do you understand me? No.
Why do you say that?
Oh, see, I'm a lot smarter than you.
Can we meet, to talk about this? Is there something we can settle out, outside?
Oh yeah, that's what we can do, so I can give you a chance to do it to some other kid. Yeah, that's exactly what we're gonna do. No. And make sure you tell your husband what's going on.
He's right here. Can he talk to you?
Oh yeah, put your husband on the phone.
She's done so much, and she made a huge mistake. The biggest mistake of anybody could ever make in the whole entire world. But God preaches forgiveness, man.
Your wife decided to be a monster and prey on a child. She scarred my son mentally. Do you understand what a 13-year-old boy did? Having sex with a teacher? Do you get that at all? Do me a favor. Do not call this number back again. The next time you'll hear from me will be in court.
So much of the media and so much of the moral projection and the righteous indignation from so many fathers about how they want to protect their children. And yet in real life, as applied, we hardly ever see it. We see dads like those of the stepsons, his sons being abused by Heather Reyes, his wife. We see dads covering up abuse and in some cases attempting to get a little something themselves from the woman. My God, if you're going to abuse my son, I'm available, but you're not wanted and you're not needed. Sit in the corner, cuck. Cover up everything for me while I abuse and molest your kid. You say nothing, even though if you reported it and you could possibly sue the school district, you could have a compensation for pain and suffering, and your son's going to possibly have lifelong issues that you're going to have to deal with. Sit in the corner. But no, this dad didn't sit in the corner and take it. This dad didn't sit in the corner and just let a woman abuse his children and him do nothing like a feckless loser. No. He confronted her straight on. He called the police, called her a monster and a predator. The attorney for Brittany Zamora after her sentencing, she was sentenced to 20 years in Arizona, which was the minimum. Of course, the judge could have sentenced her up to like 30 or 35 years. Of course, they beat that all the way down to the absolute minimum that the judge could give her was 20 years in Arizona Department of Corrections, which the judge obliged. And after the sentencing, her attorney comes stomping forward with her parents in tow as if they're some sort of victims of a terrorist attack. I just want you to, while you watch this, the juxtaposition of a female attorney representing a female predator saying things about a 13-year-old child. In this case, the victim was a boy. And imagine if a male attorney representing a man who was accused of these types of crimes and was just sentenced to 20 years, talking about a 13-year-old girl in the same way. Because the law doesn't treat, as much as society wants the law to desperately excuse this behavior, desperately cover up this behavior and legalize it to many degrees, the law doesn't say anything about the sex of the victim or the sex of the perpetrator. Society that's allowed for and facilitated this double standard, this unequal application of the law, that women get off these crimes. One of the ways they get off of these is their attorneys have the audacity of Belen Olmedo Guerra. Miss Guerra of the Belen law firm took over from, I believe it was another attorney named Suzuki, initially arrested Brittany. Didn't look like there was a plea settling, and so Belen Guerra took it over. And I want you to watch with an open mind and imagine this being a man talking about a 13-year-old girl representing another man who had just been sentenced to 20 years in state prison for sexually abusing a 13-year-old girl. Let's take a look, and then we'll discuss it as we go through it.
Good afternoon. Throughout the life of has been significant misinformation given to the public. Brittany has been wrongfully portrayed by the state of Arizona and the press as being a predator and has even been called a monster. I have represented Brittany Zamora for almost 16 months, and I can tell you that she is not a monster. Brittany is not a predator, and this was not between a young child and Brittany. This was a teenager.
Stop the tape. Stop the tape. I tried. But I couldn't do it. This was not a child. Imagine this as an attorney, a male attorney representing a 20-year just sentenced male sex offender about a 13-year-old girl. That 13-year-old girl is not a child. That's a teenager. The audacity, almost a sociopath, to have this mentality. And this is the aggressive. I mean, you got that one attorney, he's stepping on eggshells as he's going to that plea agreement or he's going to trial. He's not going to get in there and get real too nasty and try to flesh out some of the details of the case of his male client that's accused of this. But Belen, she's going there. And she was prepared to go there with this 13-year-old boy. Imagine this woman treating him on the stand, the victim. She would attempt to destroy him and have no shame in doing so. She was prepared to do it. And this is it. This wasn't a child. I mean, last I calculated that under the age of 18 is considered a child and 18 is considered an adult. I didn't know that 13-year-old children, in the context of women being accused of molesting them, we've now jumped from their children to teenagers as its own sort of definition of whether you're a child or not. Not a child.
Brittany underwent a psychosexual evaluation, and she passed with flying colors. She is not a danger to society. There were issues.
Why not? She's not a danger to society. She has a husband. She sexually abused a 13-year-old and had an 11-year-old serve as lookout. She lied about the encounter. She attempted to extort or leverage her sexual proposition to the family and the man of the house of the victim's father, to make it all go away. She completely swooned and manipulated a principal. I mean, this guy's a principal of your school. That guy, Tim Dickey, Principal Dickey. This man is in charge of your children's safety, being completely manipulated because someone is an attractive person like Brittany Zamora was. She's not a danger. She's exactly the definition of a danger.
In this case, for example, Principal Dickey refused Brittany's request to move the teenager out of the classroom.
Oh, it was Dickey's fault. Because you didn't move this child out of the classroom, that means I go on to sexually abuse him? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? I mean, teachers have to deal with the students they're given. Sorry. And you're not able to use the excuse that, hey, you didn't move I didn't see a male teacher say, hey, you didn't move that 13-year-old girl out of my classroom. So, it just happened. Now it's your fault. Blame everyone but yourself.
Brittany Zamora implored Principal Dickey to move him because the teenager had boundary issues and was obsessed with Brittany. I am not making that up. I learned that from Principal Dickey.
So because this 13-year-old boy was showering Ms. Zamora with all of this attention, she couldn't help herself. Because he had boundary issues, because he's a kid, or he's not a kid. I mean, he's not a child. He's a child. Maybe not. He's a teenager.
All things that were outside of the evidence that probably you all received. The teenage family's attorneys filed the civil suit within hours of the issue coming to light to the police department.
Great job. They actually did what parents should do. Rather than all these cuck-weak men that are fathers that promote this activity. And in reality, this family actually is going to get the compensation from the school district and Brittany Zamora and her husband and their insurance policies that they deserve. That's the civil side of this cases, right? Because when you cover up sexual abuse, when you applaud it, when you think that you would be so proud of your 13-year-old boy to be molested by Brittany Zamora, you miss out on millions of dollars in some cases. And so damn right this family went and hired an attorney. What does that have to do with anything of the actual details of this case? Your client was dirty. Your client was a predator. She committed the crimes. And now the family should be entitled to significant compensation, and the taxpayers of Goodyear, Arizona and Las Brisas Academy will have to pay up because they hired a principal that was feckless and weak, and because they hired a teacher that was a predator that they tried to cover up. And the family and the father of the victim decided that he was going to put a stop to this idea, that this was good for my son. This father did exactly what most fathers don't do, which is, this is absolutely wrong. We're calling the police. No, you're not going to, get me into a sexual position where we're going to make this all go away, Brittany. No. And your husband was right there, Mr. Zamora, encouraging that, yeah, meet up with my wife, basically to try to cover it up. Yeah, you can have sex with my wife. I mean, hell, she had sex with a 13-year-old. So hell yeah, she can have sex with the father if you cover this up. It's exactly what they were trying to do. It's insane. But this dad was different. So you're damn right he went and got an attorney, and he got himself and his son and his wife millions of dollars, deservedly so, for the recovery that they're going to need for the rest of his life.
The teenager had 2 cell phones. He had multiple social media accounts for the same place. His family had Principal Dickey's cell phone number and would call him at any time they wanted to speak with Principal Dickey about his many behavioral issues.
Oh my God, a kid has behavioral issues? His many behavioral issues. Like, we're justifying the sexual abuse. I mean, here we go. This is why these cases take so long. And this is what these types of attorneys are prepared to do for their female clients. They're going to drag this through the mud. Believe me, Belen was prepared to send that 13-year-old on the stand and ask him about all of his behavioral issues, all of his friends, everything, to try to drag him, because that's what you can do to a teenager. That's what you can do to someone that society tells you and everyone else is not a victim, tells the jury, this 13-year-old kid's not a victim. So yeah, question his story. Leverage everything you can. Shame him. That's what she's doing here now in a press conference.
I see some of your faces frowning. But I learned this from Principal Dickey during a defense interview.
They're frowning. These reporters are probably have their jaws dropped. They're frowning because, Belen, number one, they have never seen an attorney for a sex offender that just got sentenced to 20 years in prison, who was sexually abusing a young kid, come out and act. That probably never come out. Quietly went out the back office, went out the back door of the courtroom, got to their car and quietly went away. Didn't go in front of all these cameras to basically name and shame the child, call him a kid with behavioral issues. They're shocked. They're shocked. And yeah, they're frowning. I'm sure their jaws dropped. They got a taste of the female pred complex.
The teenage boy was very aggressive. He even was very persistent in asking Brittany about her birthmarks, molars, or anything else that could be an identifiable piece of information. This was before the authorities were contacted. Now I'm going to read you the statement from Brittany. Good afternoon. My name is Brittany Zamora. Thank you in advance for hearing this statement.
Writing from state prison.
After going through the court process for the last 16 months, I can truly say that I have been unfairly treated by the state of Arizona. It is shocking to me how others are so quick to judge based off hearing accusations from only one side of the story. It was made clear to me that the state had already made their decision well before I was given a chance to prove my innocence in any way, shape, or form.
And proving your innocence in this case, Brittany, would have been you naming and shaming and trying to show that women can't commit these crimes and boys can't be victims, because the evidence isn't going to change. The facts aren't going to change. You sexually assaulted this child a number of times, Brittany. That's not going to change. You had these voluntary interactions with this child. You decided to do it. You are culpable. And yet, yes, I realize that you wanted to change the narrative is what you're looking
After
for.
Obtaining extensive mitigation, completing risk assessment, psychological tests and evaluations, and polygraph tests, all of which proved the highest degree of character, the state decided to turn a blind eye to all. I feel like I was used as a publicity act to gain attention that was often driven by money, motivation from several parties. I am here to tell you that I'm not a monster the media has projected me to be. I am kind, generous, responsible, and a caring person. I have always proven to be a person of great character,
predatory,
working selflessly to help people in countless ways, from setting up programs to stop bullying, to creating fundraisers for people and families in need. I have an amazing support system that I'm very thankful for, and I pray one day I can help others to avoid going through the same unfair process. I also hope that our society can learn not to judge each other based off the way that information is biasedly portrayed. because I know firsthand how it feels to be viewed as someone that you're not. Thank you. That is Brittany's statement. I can tell you that I, as a criminal defense attorney, advocate for people who are charged with a crime, people who are wrongfully charged with crimes and wrongfully prosecuted.
But she wasn't wrongfully charged with a crime. She wasn't wrongfully prosecuted. You're just doing everything you can to manipulate public opinion, change people's perspective. The crime didn't change. In fact, the totality of her crimes could have sent her to jail for life in prison. She got a big break based upon the plea agreement that allowed her to go to just 20 years.
In this case, Brittany was not given a second chance. In spite of everything, she was not given not even a single day outside of the plea range that was initially offered. However, I'm happy to report that today we were very successful. She was sentenced to the minimum allowed by the plea agreement. And to that,
don't act too happy about it.
A win.
I mean, again, do you see that smug smile? I mean, again, I want that juxtaposition. Stay with me on that. Imagine a male attorney acting so smug. And today I got my male predator who abused a 13-year-old girl. Let me smile about it and act so smug about it.
Thank you for your time, and we will not be answering any questions today.
Are you guys really blaming a 13-year-old boy as the victim in this case?
That's not what I said.
That's exactly what the statement sounded like. Are you honestly saying that Brittany was the victim? You just going to read that and walk away?
Yep. We are just going to read that and walk away. Mic drop, I guess you could say. Let me come out, say that my sexual offender and predator client was the complete victim in all of this. Blame the child and call him a teenager as if somehow you are downplaying the crimes. Claim that he had a bunch of behavioral issues. And again, this is why these cases are so hard. You do not see this level of advocacy for male sex offenders, which is society's pressure on them because it's such a nasty business to be in. But we don't see that playing out with female sex offenders. Proudly standing in front of cameras, shaming a child, having the audacity to call that child the problem and the real perpetrator, and portraying her client as the victim. That is why these cases are where they're at. It's not just a judge might view a female offender as lesser than. It's a jury that might give more weight to defenses with a female offender, and the boy on the stand might question his story more, might doubt what he has to say, whereas they might be more primed to convict a 13-year-old, a man that had a 13-year-old girl as a victim, or just a man defendant at all. This are the angles that we're going to look at. We're going to look at these angles of why over history and over time, these female predators have largely gotten away with the most serious crimes in our culture. Brittany Zamora. So we're going to continue looking at this case from all angles. Again, it literally had everything. It had everything but had the supportive family, the dad and mom standing behind the attorney, had the aggressive attack dog attorney we typically don't see with male sex offenders. It had a very attractive woman using and manipulating the system, her friend network, her family network standing by her side, her husband paying tens of thousands of dollars of legal bills, finally ended up in divorce. She had her teaching license revoked. Zamora was divorced after years of hoping that it would come differently, that his wife would come home to him one day. They are the same wife that betrayed him in exchange for a 13-year-old kid, a child, not an adult, Belen.